make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey everybody, welcome to Monday night. Wasn't sure I was going to make a show today. All right. Anyway, well, I usually don't. When I'm up most of the day, I usually wind up not doing anything. But I not really given it. I put a lot, and neither one of those shows have gone over 10 views, according to YouTube. It's like crazy. I used only clips that YouTube cleared and said was okay to use, but evidently, if you use any clips, YouTube will suppress the crap out of you. So I may later on just to see. I may put a promo on one of them and see if the suppression is the problem. I've done that multiple times on shorts, and I had shorts that were kind of like not going anywhere, just completely take off. So yeah, it is what it is. Today, I'm sure YouTube's probably not going to be happy with the conversation I'm about to have, because I'm going to talk about a phenomenon that is happening right before our eyes. Let me see something right quick. Yo, please indulge me for a second. Let me see here. I'm seeing delays back here. I'm just trying to see if there's delays out there, because evidently I don't have anybody in my chat today. Not surprising. Come on. All right, it's not going to bring it up. All right. Anyway, let me just lower. Let me lower this right quick. That slow down is driving me crazy. 1 second, guys. All 4 of you. Here we go. All right, let's try that. Okay, I will try that. Yeah, that's better. All right. Well, the subject I wanted to talk about today is talking about the independent space killing the mainstream space. You know, kind of like did independent kill the mainstream star? I'm kind of like going off the Buggles song, video killed the radio star, because I think that is the last time we had this big of a cultural shift. MTV. Now, before MTV, people were, it didn't matter what they looked like. All that matters is if they could play. All that matters is if they could sing. All that mattered is if there's meritocracy. If you couldn't play your instrument, or if you couldn't write a tune, or if you couldn't sing, you know, you pretty much didn't get any play anywhere. But then after MTV came on, all that mattered was kind of like, what do you look like? You know, are you the physical ideal? Now, granted, there are some female stars that probably wouldn't have made it otherwise that got radio play and got launched because, you know, people like Pat Benatar. I don't think Pat Benatar would have made it as much room or as much of a career for herself if people didn't know that she was a cute little thing. And, you know, they had that big voice behind her. Of course, that backfired later on Heart, because Ann Wilson is a full-figured lady with incredible voice, 1 in a million voice. And yet, when they did the videos for Heart, her svelte little sister, Nancy, would get close-ups, would be writhing or rolling around on the catwalk, and then they do Ann Wilson in close-up, and then they show Nancy Wilson spinning around with the guitar, looking all sexy, and then they do Ann Wilson from a distance, you know, and it really messed with her. You know, she's a beautiful woman, but she just happens to be more full-figured than her sister, and so, but that was the last time we had this big of a cultural shift, I believe, and that's because the technology changed, the emphasis changed, and suddenly, if you were going to make it, you had to have a video. You know, suddenly you had to have the visual representation to go along with the music, whatever hit the ears, you know. So bands that may have not been as talented were pushed to the front. So you saw this with the hair metal movement, in that bands that had the glam look that the women are all digging were the ones that were pushed. But then suddenly the new hotness was grunge, and those guys couldn't get a return call from their managers, you know. And it just happened like overnight. So what has this got to do with what's going on right now? Well, I believe what we're seeing right now is we're seeing video kill the radio star all over again. By the way, irony is YouTube or MTV just closed its doors in December, at the end of December. So so right as the previous culture driver shut its doors, we've seen a shift in a new direction. I think the thing that's kind of like really indicative to me, the one that kind of inspired me to make this video today, this poorly viewed video, which will hopefully get people watch later, was when Nick Shirley, this young man, goes to Minnesota, and all he does is he shows up at all of these childcare facilities, and he tries to enroll a child. And the purpose that the purpose for the whole entire thing was to expose fraud, and he exposed a lot of it. That one video, I think he went over $100 million worth of fraud is just in one video that he uncovered. Oh, we got a comment. VH1 and MTV pushed the 1980s culture, and us Gen Xers are happy for it. Well, yeah, in hindsight, I'm not sure it pushed us in a positive direction, but I get it. So basically, Nick Shirley goes to these facilities, and his stated purpose is to uncover fraud. And he does. He uncovers a lot of fraud. And so he posts it to X, the former Twitter platform that is controlled by Elon Musk. And basically, Elon Musk bought Twitter to move it back towards free speech. Now, Twitter still has its foibles. It still has its censorship. And, just had a friend of ours had his Twitter account suspended the other day over something stupid. So it's not perfect, but it's closer to free speech than just about any other platform on the planet right now. And so Nick, what does he do? He uploads his video to Twitter. Elon Musk sees it, and he boosts it. And suddenly, over 2 million people are seeing this video of somebody on their own, not covered by, not with any kind of news outlets, just his own impetus, his own money, showing up and just going around to these daycare centers asking, "Can I enroll my kid?" and getting the answers, and just videoing answers. No cuts, no anything, no framing necessary. I mean, the sign, one of the signs misspells learning. And it's in plain sight. And you don't tell me that a state investigator didn't see that sign and say, why do we have a daycare with a misspelled sign? A daycare that's supposed to have educational import, misspelling their sign, And so obviously there's a breakdown there. Well, now let's take that particular incident that was just completely, totally took the world by storm. I know there's a whole bunch of people doing their best. The Leering Center, yeah. But there's a whole bunch of people that suddenly have taken it upon themselves to go in their own states and to check out fraud in their own states. And the fraud has been breathtaking. We're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars just going out the door. And in Somali's case, heading directly to Boko Haram, a Muslim terrorist group operating in Africa. And they caught them at the airport, which, by the way, had Somalis on all levels of the airport just walking out with a bag full of cash to take to Somalia. Just called at the airport. And this has been going on. And we wouldn't know about it except this kid, not attached to anybody, not pushed by anybody, not platformed by anybody, basically took it upon himself to follow up on an investigation of this other guy who's in Minnesota. People are finding lots and lots of fraud in lots of places. Yep. All sorts of places. Yeah. All levels. And so the citizen journalism, and because the TSA are involved with money smuggling. Yep. Especially if the TSA had DEI mandates, and the only way they can meet those DEI mandates was to hire Somalians, which is what happened. So you basically had an airport. There was a money laundering operation. A international airport that has a money laundering operation operating in our country. And it wouldn't be uncovered except for this kid taking it upon himself to follow up on this other guy's information. And Elon Musk platformed him, and suddenly it's everywhere. Well, the other day, a former anchor at CNN, this has happened Sunday, named Don Lemon, who lost his job at CNN because he lied on the air like every other breath. And he'd been doing it for almost a decade. Demonstrably lie. This is not my perception. A quick Google, everything this guy said, a quick Google would turn up as a lie. And they finally called up to him, and he finally let him go. And so he became independent podcaster, okay, with a minuscule following. And so the other day, he meets in the parking lot in Minnesota some BLM protesters who he is familiar with, friends with. He actually walked up, hugged one, and kissed them on camera. So this is not me speaking out my butt. And they proceeded to invade a church in Minnesota and terrorize the congregation because there was a rumor that the pastor of this church was involved with ICE. It turns out that whoever that guy, the one that they were after, that wasn't the church. So they just terrorized this congregation for no reason. And he says this is journalism. This is citizen journalism. But the problem is, what's the intent? The intent of Nick Shirley was to expose fraud. The intent of what Don Lemon was doing was to terrorize people with the wrong political ideology. That's tomato. And yet Don Lemon is claiming that, journalistic privilege, that he is being a journalist, quote unquote. And he is probably going to be indicted before the end of the week, if he's not indicted already, because you can't do that. But he thought he could. Why? Because the mainstream press has been running cover on activities like this. And so he thought he was back in 2018, where this was commonplace, where this was accepted, where this was covered, where this is basically swept under the rug. He's not. He's in 2026. And so he basically tried to take what Nick Shirley was doing and corrupt it in the other direction. And he had no idea what he was doing. because he's an activist. He's not a journalist. So what he did, why does a journalist have on his Rolodex, and why is he in contact with people who are active terrorists? Basically, they're not protesters; they're terrorists. So, why did he think that was okay? Because up till now, it has been. Up to now, they have had cover. Up to now, they could have done this with impunity and have done this with impunity. And so, it's a new day. Okay? The independent spirit means I'm not going to wait for the people who are supposed to do it to do it. I'm going to do it myself. The little red hen, help me do this. I've got something better to do, then I'll do it myself. And this is happening in all layers of society. This is happening in all corners of pop culture and mainstream. So with mainstream music, everything's algorithm. Everything is snapped to the same beat in Pro Tools. They got multiple songwriters who know how to craft songs that go number one on the radio. And then, because of the clear channel thing, the people who are basically managing these bands are playing their music on radio stations that they have control of. And so nothing you see in the top 10 of Billboard is even organic. It's all fake. So what happens? You got people like Tom McDonald who come in, not beholden to any outlet or any record company. He doesn't have a contract with anybody. He just started uploading his music to online. Started out paying Facebook for advertisement for click, and went viral, and then went viral again, and then went viral again, then went viral again. Does his own packaging, does his own mailing, completely everything is in house. He hired his mother, daddy, and his sister. I think more than one sister now, but pretty much his whole family packs everything and sends it off to people. And he is multimillionaire. We're talking, we're not just talking right over the edge to millionaire. We're talking solidly a millionaire. And it's completely, totally organic. If his music comes out, he doesn't have any push from mainstream. He doesn't have any push from anybody but word of mouth and fan to fan. And yet he is outselling the mainstream. Hold on a second. The DOJ has done what? The TSA should be locked down and shuttered. Yeah. I agree. I totally agree with that. Okay, there's a comment. The TSA has never passed a security check. That blew my mind. Look it up. The TSA has never passed a security check in its entire existence. Since it was created back in 2001, the TSA has never passed a security check yet. Let's review. That's 25 years. 25 years of incompetence. Yeah, I think TSA needs to go. But anyway, so Tom McDonald, if you don't mind me, Wookie, getting back on the subject of what I'm actually talking about, if you don't mind, I appreciate it. Anyway, abusing the one and only God, my chat. Love it. Anyway, So Tom McDonald's successful outselling the mainstream. Okay. This guy named Oliver Anthony comes along. Chris Lunsford is his actual name. He just goes by Oliver Anthony to honor his grandfather. Okay. So he gets an opportunity from a local radio station to record one of his songs. And so he, in backwoods of Virginia somewhere, he records a song called Rich Man North of Richmond. It's pretty much a searing indictment of Washington, D.C., the things that go on up there. And it goes viral. It goes mega viral, over 1 million clicks overnight almost. So much so that he's talking to Joe Rogan like 2 weeks later. I mean, he went viral, okay? So, and everybody wants a piece of him. Everybody's wanting a piece of him. Management shows up. People just saying, sign with us. You know, we'll take care of it. And then, but Joe Rogan told him, he's like, you made this on your own. Why would you sign it away? And so Oliver Anthony, who happens to be a centrist, kind of like classic liberal, kind of like distrusting the man anyway, chooses to go along and winds up selling over 1 million albums, touring the world. And in the meantime, his wife that basically leaves him, takes the kids, and tries to not only get half of the money that he made while he was with her, she tries to get them half. She tries to get the money, like garnish the money that he's about to make after her. And well, the judge is like, you know, puts a kibosh on that. Of course, I mean, well, I'm glad he got the right judge, but anyway, so he's heartbroken over the betrayal, and so he makes a song called "Scornful Woman," and it goes viral. Maybe even bigger than Rich Man North of Richmond. He had some musicians with him. He did it. He did it in his West Virginia farmhouse that he bought, and he had to bring in generators to do it. And you know, he had his buddies with him, and heck of a song. And that one goes viral, making him a whole bunch of money off of her that she can't touch because the divorce is final. So I find that very hilarious, but he did it again. So he's not a one-hit wonder. He did it again. And so we're talking about somebody completely outside of the mainstream, completely on his own, completely independent, that has beaten the mainstream at its own game twice now. And probably still going. Ironically, he's also involved in a group to try to revitalize rural communities. That's very important to him. He gives a talk on it. Look it up. It's very, very impactful. He's got something going on. He's very clever, very smart. It's a book, and they're all books. Okay, you go to any bookstore, and or any book section in Target, or any book section in Walmart, any book section, any major outlet, and you're going to see a whole bunch of mommy porn and book talk stuff. You know, the supernatural romance novels, basically, and most of them are poorly written, and most of them are smutty, and they're all aimed towards housewives, basically. At the bottom, like on the bottom shelf where you can barely see, is usually where decent stuff is, you know, the decent stuff. And very little of it is slanted. Very little of it. I mean, a lot of it's openly hostile towards men. Let's just face it. And the whole entire there's been leaked like emails of people like mainstream editors and people that you need to go, or managers, or people you have to go through to get to the publishing industry. You know, you can't submit anything without one of these people. And yet there's been leak after leak after leak of documents where these people have said, I won't touch anybody white, male, and straight. So gatekeeping, completely gatekeeping. Okay. But then somebody like Brandon Sanderson, who's a famous author, famous fantasy author, he decides he's going to, instead of going through this publisher, he's going to try crowdfunding. So he goes to Kickstarter, puts 2 novels that he has written up at the same time on Kickstarter in a like a package deal, and went over 1 million backers. Not money, backers. He went over 1 million. So this basically, that's all he does now, is he basically goes straight to crowdfunding. And the reason why is the publisher takes stuff off the top. You know, there's story after story after story, especially in like music, where a band will sell, have a #1 hit, sell millions of albums, and then wind up broke because of the contract that they signed when they were young and hungry and desperate. This has happened over and over and over again. Look up the Contracts Creedence Clearwater Revival. What happened to them? Especially John Fogerty. It'll make your skin crawl. But I mean, somebody like Prince, even Prince himself, had to get out of a contract, and he had to do a whole bunch of stuff to get out of that contract. You know, that's why he went crazy for a while. But the thing about it is the mainstream wants to control. Okay, what Don Lemon did was all about control. What these music producing companies, these publishing companies, all want control. You know, comic book space. Marvel and DC are being outsold routinely by people in independent space selling comics and crowdfunding routinely. So it's happening because people want authenticity, and they don't want things through a lens. They don't want things being corrupted. They don't want things being altered. They don't want things being edited. They want the true source. They want to go straight to the source. And now they can go straight to the source. We don't have to wait for CNN to come out with something about this. They would never cover the Minnesota fraud. CNN's boy is Don Lemon, and you see what he did. He went after a church congregation because he thought they were affiliated with ICE and tried to terrorize them. Sent a whole bunch of activists to the door, including some bearded guy who basically threatened people. And that happened. Why? Because the pastor might be attached to ICE. And we're talking about what happened with that lady the other day. Are we going to talk about how they tried to George Floyd, you know, Miss Good, whatever her name was, and it didn't work? Why didn't it work? First of all, she's a white woman. You know, she's not a person of color, so she didn't fit the narrative. Also, because all of the camera angles got released where we all could see every angle, and we weren't paying attention to the narrative. We weren't paying attention to the framing. We could see it for ourselves because it was right there on X. And people who still think that she was taking her kids home, drove the wrong place, and got shot because she was so scared that she hit her accelerator when she shouldn't have. There's still that narrative out there, except you got the video of her harassing ICE before then and being told by her partner, go, baby, go, while there's somebody in front of her car. And then she makes eye contact with the guy, and she drives towards that guy, and he lights her up, but not before she hits him, strikes him with the vehicle, and he had internal injuries. What do they do? And we can see it with our own eyes. This isn't 26. This isn't 2020. This isn't the summer of 2020. We can see with our own eyes what happened. And the mainstream can't control the narrative anymore. They can't control who we hear. They can't control who we like. They can't control our taste. They can't control anything anymore because they can't control X, basically. And because they can't control X, they can't control all these other websites that are popping up that they don't have their thumb on. And now the websites that they did have their thumb on are rebelling because they can't survive in this ecosystem unless they stop being a rubber stamp. It's all breaking down. All of it's breaking down right in front of us. Video is killing the radio star all over again. Oh, 1 second. Hollywood is trying to initiate you or infiltrate YouTube and content creators, unionize content creators, and YouTube's wanting to be the next Netflix. Control is a control goal of all establishment shows. Yeah. Before you showed up, Wookie, I was just talking about the last videos I did, about pop bands that went hard. I used clips that YouTube told me were fine to use. And neither of the videos are over 10 views right now. Out of all that work, neither of them over 10 views. And both of them suppressed to hell, even though I didn't use the clips that would have limited my reach. They limited me anyway, just for using clips. So I'm going to be interested in today. I'm not using any clips to illustrate anything. I'm going to be very fascinated to see if YouTube suppresses me today, if I have more views today than I did on my last video. If I have more videos or more views off of this video today, then I'll know that the reason my videos last week are suppressed is because I used clips, even though they were okayed. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, so what am I saying? What I'm saying is video is killing the radio star all over again. We are seeing a shift in real time right now. They're no longer controlling the taste of music. They're no longer controlling, the publishing. They're no longer controlling the news narratives. What do they have left? What does the mainstream have left? And can they compete? Can they change? Can they alter? Can they pivot quick enough? I don't think they can. Because the same thing happened when the baby boomers took over the culture circa early 1960s. I mean, late 1960s, early 70s. When the boomers basically took over culture. And they've had control of it ever since. What we're seeing right now is the breaking of that model. And the rising up of people like me. people like you, people like Wookie over there. Well, maybe not Wookie. Kidding, buddy, kidding. Anyway, but I think what we're going to see, we're just one of the things I also want to talk about is the fact that AI is allowing people to make movies. Right now, they're making Star Wars movies, like mini movies or whatever, using the original actors and using a lot of the same sound effects and things like that. And so, with the leaving of Lucasfilm by, she who shall not be named, I really think that it's going to behoove them to look into these creators. YouTube is suppressing all the independent content creators have pushed corporate and AI slop channels. Yeah, I'm seeing it. But these AI videos that are being put out are well written, and there's a lot more love into them, a lot more genuine, affection in these AI videos that are coming out than has been in these billion-dollar productions that Disney's been foisting upon us since George signed the check. And I honestly think that what we're going to see is we're seeing a decentralization away from LA, away from New York. You're going to have people in Idaho making viral content. You're going to see people from rural Michigan, changing the world with stuff that they pulled out of their butts. We're going to see a revolution of genuine content. And I'm here for it. But the Dinosaur media, they're not done yet. People like Don Lemon attacking the church. We're going to see the death throes. That's a death throw right there. That's a death throw of traditional media. That's them fighting back against the force that they think is changing the culture and pulling it away from them. They've been doing this. Somebody pointed this out, that media, the mainstream became hostile towards ordinary fans, ordinary people around about 2016. It's because we started acting out of their control. And so we became rivals instead of consumers. And that's one reason why we've got the hatred aimed at us, is because we stopped consuming and started creating. We stopped, accepting whatever they gave us, and we started having opinions. And so I could see the day where we started creating our own content and started dethroning them. And so all this stuff that they're seeing right now, all this stuff they're fighting against, it's just the reality of that. What's up, John? Good to see you, man. And it's going to get worse. I have been able to predict several things. If anybody watched my channel, they would know some of these things that were going to come, that were going to happen. And so here's a prediction. I'm pretty good at these. So, yeah, though, for the few that are watching this video, you'll be informed. Let me tell you what's going to happen. As the mainstream is in its death throes, it is going to collaborate with a lot of these traditional platforms, and it's going to get worse before they finally let go. YouTube is going to be the first one that's probably going to go. I'm thinking Facebook and Google is definitely going to, anything that Google controls is definitely going to be part of it. Unless the antitrust stuff comes through. And so Facebook controls Instagram. Facebook controls like several other things. Threads. I can't be arsed to figure out what all they control. But the traditional, like, Silicon Valley people are going to comply with the mainstream in this death throes. And you're going to see in the short term, you're going to see a lot of destruction, and you're going to see a lot more cancellations, and you're going to see YouTube become utterly, completely unusable to anybody that's just starting this stuff up. It almost already is. And it's just going to get worse. It's going to get more acute. I expect my channel's probably going to be struck. I've already got one strike. I expect it to probably get 2 more strikes before it's over with. But I'm just saying that prepare for it. Mainstream's not going to give it without a fight. They've had control for so long. They're not going to give it up without a fight. They're going to fight to the bitter end. And they're going to burn it all down on the way out the door. If they can't have it, they will not want anybody to have it. So you're going to see a lot more shenanigans. You're going to see a lot more censorship, and you're going to see a lot more negativity aimed at ordinary customers, ordinary people on the street. You're going to see a lot more Don Lemons attacking churches. He's a symptom. What's that, Will? He's a symptom. India didn't kill the mainstream. They did it to themselves. Well, they made it necessary. I'll say that. They made it necessary. The thing about that happened in 2016, the thing that really killed the mainstream, is they became inflexible. As long as they were flexible, as long as they would allow more than one point of view, as long as they weren't actively suppressing one side, as long as they weren't forcing people to find new avenues to express themselves, like YouTube, then they had control over the whole thing. Would people sat there in the pens and bleated, and they could have cheered us all they wanted. But after 2016 election, they got mad. They got hostile. They got inflexible. And they basically brought this on. And now, the people that they hate, the people who did it to them twice now, are trying to take over. They're not going to let it happen without a fight. They don't have much left, but what they have left, they're going to burn to the ground rather than let us have it. And it's going to be interesting. But I'm just saying, expect more censorship, expect more craziness, like a journalist attacking a church. Expect more nutty opinions, expect more violence, expect more everything before it's over with. They hate everyone, even themselves. Yep, I'll agree to that. So all I'm saying is they're not gone yet. They're not dead yet. They're dead men walking. It's inevitable. All the trends are showing negative. Everything's in the red. But they're not gone yet. And they're going to try to take as much they can get with them as they go. Count on it. Expect it. Prepare for it. If you don't have a account on Rumble, make one. today, because it's not going to be long before YouTube won't allow us to be here. It won't allow anybody that's not mainstream connected to be here. It's already happening. We're already seeing it. But anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for commenting. And yep, I'm there for over a year. Yeah. They get their monetization model fixed. Thank you, man. They get their monetization model fixed over there. Nobody's going to be on YouTube. YouTube's just going to empty overnight. If they ever get it fixed over there. They're not there yet. But if they ever do, this platform's gone. It's going to empty out. Good night, man. Good night, Woogie. So we'll all see you. Try to see you sometime this week. I've been doing more shorts lately. Shorts are the only thing that YouTube seems to leave alone. And I'm finally growing my channel again. I'm just doing a whole bunch of shorts. So just keep an eye out. Keep paying attention. And we'll see you next time. Follow the White Rabbit. Bye, everybody.